Students, so welcome back to another video. In today's video we'll study about circle theorems. First we'll study all the properties and then we will apply these property into past papers. So the first theorem, the first property is about radius and tangent, and this property says that a radius and tangent meet at 90°. That means when there is a tangent, that tangent is the line that touches curved path at one point. So whenever there is a tangent passes through a circle, then you extend your radius towards the tangent, then they will both meet at 90°. And this 90° is at both sides of the both side of the radius, obviously, because angles on straight line add up to 180. And I'm just showing you that wherever the tangent crosses, you can extend your radius towards that tangent. Okay, so coming to the next property, and this property is about two tangents that meet somewhere externally. So whenever we have two tangents and they meet at some certain point externally, and then you extend a line from the center towards that meeting point, you will see that this divides your area into two congruent triangles. Now what are congruent triangles? Congruent triangles are the triangles which have exactly same lengths and all three angles are also same. So now this divides our area into two congruent triangle. AS is equals to BS, OA is equals to OB. The angle YY are same, the angle XX are same, and 90° on the both side. Okay, so this one is about cyclic quadrilateral. Whenever we have a cyclic quadrilateral is a quadrilateral all the vertices of which lies on the circumference of the circle. So whenever you have a cyclic quadrilateral, then you will see that opposite two angles of a cyclic quadrilateral add up to 180. That means if you add A to B, this will add up to 180, and if you add X to Y, this will also add up to 180. So adding A to B, X to Y, both gives you 180. They are supplementary. Opposite angles are supplementary. Now coming to next property. This property says that the angles at circumference subtended by the same arc are equal. Now what does it say? That when you have two angles that are made up by the same arc, that means, for example, let me highlight the region for you. For example, if we have this angle, this is subtended by this yellow arc, you can see, and then we have another angle which is also subtended by this yellow arc. So these angles are same segment angles and they are always equal. So to remember this property, you can just always remember this crisscross shape. Whenever you see this crisscross shape, you can just remind this thing into your mind that they would have same segment and these two angles would be equal. So I'm just writing this shape over here, so just remember this shape, and whenever you see this crisscross shape, you will apply the same segment property. But make sure that center of the circle is not included in making any angle, okay? Because if center would be included, the whole property would be changed. Coming to this third property, this third property says that angle subtended by diameter with a cyclic triangle, the angle opposite to the diameter would always be 90°. That means if you have a diameter and you make a triangle from the ends of the diameter, the opposite angle to the diameter would be always 90. Coming to the next property again. This property says that angle at center of the circle is double the angle at the circumference. That means the angle which is at the subtended by the center like this, and there is another angle which is subtended by the same arc but somewhere else, the angle at the circumference would be twice the angle at the center. And you can just remember this property by this arrow shape. Whenever you see this arrow shape kind of thing, you can just remember the property that angle at center is twice the angle at the circumference. Okay, there is another shape which is again this crisscross shape, but this time we have something different than the previous crisscross. You can see this crisscross is actually the angle is at the center. One angle is made by the center of the center, and the other angle is not. But this over here we can see that this angle had nothing to do with the center, right? There is nothing, not the center is not included. So this property is same segment property, and whenever the center of the circle makes some angle and we have crisscross shape, so this property is that angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. Now we have this quadrilateral, and we can see this is also subtended by this yellow arc, so the angle at the center again is twice the angle at the circumference. Now we can just apply these property into some questions, but let me just finish the last property. This property says that if we have a tangent and we just make a triangle, the one part of triangle is touching the tangent and the two at somewhere else in the circumference, then this angle would be equal to this angle. That means opposite alternate segment of this side. And you can just remember this property whenever you see a triangle but one vertex of triangle is touching the tangent, so you just say that this opposite alternate segment would always be equal. Okay, now coming to some past paper question, we'll apply the properties and see how they work. So in this question you can see that we have a lot of variables that we need to find, and we'll apply the properties one by one and we'll get the value of each variable. So the first variable that we need to find is u. What can we do to get the value of u? If we notice this circle carefully, there is a very good crisscross pattern that can help us to get u, because u is the same segment of 20. So if this is 20, then u would also be 20 because they are sharing the same segment. If you want to revise it, let me show you this property again. There is a crisscross pattern and the angles which are next to each other like this would be sharing the same segment and they would be equal. So w would also be equal to 20 because they are sharing the same segment. That means they are subtended by the same arc. Okay, so this is 20 and the reason is same segment. Now the next variable is v. How can we get v? Again, if we see it very carefully, there is a crisscross pattern but now in the opposite side. I'm just drawing it to make things more clear. See this pattern? So if this is v, then the same segment of v is this, but the problem is we don't also know this angle, but we know that this angle is a part of triangle whose other angles are 56 and 72, and the angles of triangle add up to 180. So what we can do is we can just add 56 and 72 and then subtract it by 180 to get the missing angle. So what I do, I'll write 180 subtracted by sum of 56 and 72. So I'll get 52 as an answer, and the v would be also 52 because v is sharing the same segment with it. So if this is 52, the v would also be 52 because it's the same segment. So in place of v, I will write 52 degrees, and the reason is the same segment. Okay, now for the third variable, which is w, what can we do to get w now? This is even more easier than the previous ones. you can see that there is a cyclic quadrilateral over here. All four vertices of a quadrilateral are touching the circumference, so it's a cyclic quadrilateral. And the property of cyclic quadrilateral is that the two opposite angles add up to 180. See, this AB add up to 180. So if this is a cyclic quadrilateral, then W and 72 would also be add up to 180 because they're opposite angles of each other. Then W would be 180 subtracted by 72 degree, and we'll get an answer of 108 degrees. So W is 108. Okay, after it, there is only one variable left to get the value of it, and that is x. We can see there is one angle which is lying on a straight line, and that is next to 56. So if I subtract 180 from 56, I'll get this angle which is 124. U we already know is 20. So now I know that angles in triangle add up to 180, so I'll just add 124 and 20 and then subtract this by 180. I'll get the value of x as well. So after doing all this calculation, I will get 36 degree as an answer of x. And we're done with solving all the variables, so this question is done.